you can still have peace even through the difficult times. And if we allow ourselves, if we give ourselves permission, you can actually even have joy in the difficult times. We've all been to funerals where maybe you see people, you haven't seen them in forever. And it's almost like you're almost scared to let yourself feel happy because it's a sad time. And they're both present. Joy and sorrow can both be present at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive.
Hello, Jan. How are you?
I'm so good. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm always excited to just, even if we can touch one life or put hope in someone's heart, that it's never too late. I'm a late bloomer. As you said, I built 4 successful companies after the age of 40. So for all of you in your 30s who think your life is over because you haven't made it yet, you haven't even gotten started. So I just want to plant hope in the hearts of people. Being a woman and from my era, I was born in the mid 1900s. That sounds like ancient. It sounds like I'm a dinosaur, but it's true. And so I came up when men could make money, boys could make money, but girls, we didn't. It was that beaver cleaver. We stayed at home with the families and that kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But I certainly was not geared toward business. And yet I always liked to make money from the time I was a little girl. So I think that entrepreneurial spirit was in me from the time I was young. And yet I didn't really let it out until I was in my 40s.
So you were simultaneously going against a few forces. One of them being the fact that you were not accompanied or incentivized to having an entrepreneurial life in which you developed businesses or projects. That's one of them. Then 2, it's not only about the education that you didn't get, but the expectations that society had from you, that you were not supposed to be doing those things. And you fight against that.
Yes. Well, I was determined. And I figured out early on that life is better with money.
Yeah.
It's much better. Money is not the most important thing. You can have all the money in the world. And if you don't have relationships and love in your life, you're broke. Even if you think you're rich, you're broke. But it's not either or. You can have it all. You can have great relationships. You can have a wonderful life and you can have plenty of money. Money makes life better. It gives us more choices. And it helps us do good works. It's really good to make money. So a lot of my growth in terms of money and business was giving myself permission as a woman that it's okay. I have permission to prosper. And that's a pretty deep work to give yourself permission to live a bigger and a better life.
Because I think that you're completely right. Life with money is much better, but you obviously require some love and some deep relationships with people you care about. Sure. I think that the thing that defines this, the need for both of them, if you have no money but you have the love, your life will not have the same quality as it would if you had some of both. There's a term in economics called the decrease in marginal utility of the unit. Let's say you drink a glass of water, you get super satisfied by it. I always give the exact same example. Then the second one satisfies you less, the third one less. So the same thing happens with money. The first unit of money is the one which gives you the capacity to survive. The second one maybe gives you some freedom. The third one maybe gives you a bit more freedom. So the more you get, the less it satisfies you, but there's more facets in life. It's like, why is it that the next unit of water is so cheap, but the next unit of gold is so expensive? Because even if you need water to survive, I think that something similar happens between money and family or relationships. Relationships are like the water that's fundamental to be able to live and not commit suicide. But from the other side, we have the thing that resembles economic value, that you cannot. Maybe this example is not perfect because you cannot overproduce the water in the sense of it gives you life, yeah, but the reason why water is so cheap is that we have plenty of it, so you don't value it in economic terms. 1 cubic meter of water costs everywhere around the world mostly like less than $1. Why is that? Because we've improved technologically. So I think that there's a really interesting connection there.
Supply and demand, right?
Yeah. There's a really interesting connection there between the vital thing, that's the relationship with people, and the economic capacity that you have that allows you to enjoy the other thing that's the actual vital thing.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great example. It's true. And they're not mutually exclusive. You can have it all. And that's one of the messages that I want people to hear, because in my business, I own a consulting firm. That's one of my businesses. I have a consulting firm here in Austin, Texas, the music capital of the world. That's what we claim here. And great place to visit if anyone wants to come see it. It's a great place to come to. In my consulting practice, I do find that we as humans, our brain tries to do this either or. You can have this or that. And even when we're little, sometimes, well-meaning parents or people will say, you can't have it all. You think you can have your cake and eat it too. You can't have everything. And I disagree. I think you can have everything for you personally that makes your life happy and full and to give you an abundant life. Because what makes me happy might be different than what makes you happy. We all have different desires and wants, but you have the capacity and you have what it takes. If you want to build a business, you can do it. If that's what's in you, you can do it. If you want wealth, I would say about that, many people think they want wealth, but actually think it through and get it on paper and look at your projections and figure out, do you really want to manage that much? How much do you want to manage? Because with more money comes more responsibility. And so I think we have to look at it, like, what do you really want? And the more clear that we can define that question, what do you really want? That's the secret. When you define that, then you have within you what it takes to meet that goal and to be that person.
Okay, you were referring to the fact that we all might be able to find different things that satisfy us to the fullest of the potential ways. And I think that we are biased biologically to value certain things as not objectively, obviously, everything is subjective. Subjective experience, consciousness is objective by definition, but we all tend to value certain things homogeneously, like nature, beauty. We might not agree in what beauty is, but you are right. There's many things that people have different characters. They enjoy doing different things. If you started doing something I enjoy doing, let's say I show you a book I've just been reading last week, you might not enjoy it, but I do. So those different traits that make us be able to enjoy things, I think that we also should be taking into account that there's not only that differentiation in how personalities make people in the society like things non-homogeneously, but there's also another factor, that's biology. We are all the same species. We are all determined in a way to enjoy water, consuming food, calories, doing the basic natural things. And those, I really think that, but you're right. There's two factors there: the differentiation that we can have personally, and then the other thing that's biological. And then the second point that I really liked about you is that we have a mentality, I think also biased through biology, that it is that we have to do a trade-off. You cannot have everything. You need a trade-off. You have either A or B, and you have to choose. And why is that? Because if you think of the environment in which we got evolved, humans, we were hunter-gatherers up until like 2,000 years ago. And why is it that we are expecting ourselves to act in a way that matches our current environment, even if our genetics have not by far been able to adapt to our current environment, to the speed at which we have been able to modify our environment? That's not the case. Our genetics have not been able to adapt to it. So there's a mismatch there. And this, I think, is the reason behind the fact that even if we are able to overcome trade-offs, like, for example, let's say I do accounting, and you paint walls. I know nothing about painting walls, but I can pay you some money that I earn through learning how to do accounting so that I get my walls painted, you know? So that's a trade-off, but I'm being able to get everything I want.
Yes. Yes, that's such a beautiful example. And that really, what you just described is what I call the energy exchange. It's the energy of money. There has to be an even exchange or it's going to go south. It's going to go sour. There has to be this even energy exchange. That's business in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's what makes the world go round, right? So yeah, there's your simple lesson on business right there. You have to find something that other people want or need, and you provide it for them, and you get monetary compensation back. It's really not rocket science.
But there's a dark side there, isn't it? Because it's not only about finding something that people previously needed, but also things that you are potentially capable of making other things think that they need.
Yes, Apple has done a wonderful job with that.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. You think you need that new iPhone. You think you have to have that. Yes.
And that's also due to our evolutionary mismatch with our current environment.
Right.
Most of our current problems. Most of the problems are due to that. But I think I wasn't able to explain myself as good as I wanted to, in the fact that those trade-offs that we are naturally biased towards judging as binary, you can either get one thing or the other, is due to the lack of specialization in the economic situation that we had in our evolutionary environment. But now we are capable of, through capitalism, I'm a supporter of free markets. I think you more or less can guess that from how I talk. But through capitalism, basically, you permit people to specialize, to divide the labor. And that's exactly what makes people get rich. But our environment previously wasn't as prosperous. And if you wanted to get your to have your walls well painted, you had to be the one in charge of doing that.
Yes.
Why is it that now most of the people don't do 99% of the things that they enjoy? Because they are capable of doing the one thing that they are just good at doing, and they sell that, and that's it. That's your business. You don't need to know how to build a microphone. You can buy it from someone who does.
Right. Well, I mean, that's part of leveraging too. I mean, you do want to leverage and certainly stay in what I call I got this from Gay Hendricks from The Big Leap, that book. You want to stay in what's called your zone of genius. Stay in that lane and run in that lane. And that's where happiness is. It's where joy is. It's where you feel fulfilled. It's what brings the best return for your investment. The ROI is when we are in alignment with who we are created to be. That's the best ROI in life. Because even if you're really good at a task and you hate it, but you're good at it, and everyone wants you to do it because you're good at it, but you're not happy with it, then you're not in alignment. You're not living your highest life. And, you know, at this age and stage of my life, I'm in grandmotherhood. You know, I have 7 grandkids. And now when I'm looking back, it's just things that we thought were so important, they're just not. And, you know, yes, making money is important. Of course it is. It makes life better. It helps us do good works. Money it's great. But at what cost do we go after that? Like, it's so important to stay in alignment with who we were created to be. And we know that by, are you happy or you're not? Because when we are in a state of happiness, which is where I live my life, it's why I can even address grief and gratitude and grace and the grief that I've been through. Grief is real. Hard times are real, but we don't have to stay there. We don't have to live there. We can actually evolve and come to our highest self and live a happy life. And who wants to live a miserable life? Not me. It's not the way to go. But all of these factors play a part.
You were referring to us not being able to discern without the knowledge or experience that you've gathered through the time what is actually relevant for your life and what is not. I think that there's a quote that I've saved from, do you know Naval Ravikant?
I don't.
He's
Tell me.
a migrant from India who got into the US. Now he's an angel investor. And he had a quote which is brilliant. It is hard to be calm if you haven't lost a lot and won a lot.
That's wisdom.
Yeah. If you have never gone through the grind, through the actual trial and error of something, through a sufficient amount of times, it is hard to discern what is social pressure that's not going to lead to actual return, and you're going to be mistaking the expectation that you have of having some social acceptance in the short term by buying the next piece of architecture that someone might think that you are high in status due to doing that, but it's not going to give you long-term satisfactoriness. And that can only be discerned through wisdom, I think.
This is so good. You're so wise to be so young. This is so true. And, you know, you're hitting a little hot button in me, because even last night, my grandson came over and he and his girlfriend came and had dinner with me here at the house. And they like to just ask me questions. And we have the best discussions. And I think one of the treasures that we may be missing, you know, we all have to check our own life, is intergenerational relationships and the wisdom that comes. There are some things that just come from being on the planet a long time. It's like when you're in junior high school and you look at a kindergartner, you can tell that kindergartner a lot of things when you're in junior high school. And it doesn't mean you're smarter. It doesn't mean you're better. It just means you've been on the pathway longer. That's all. And that's how it is as we get older. And certainly as I look back, and I want to spend the rest of my days pouring out whatever gifts are in me, whatever wisdom is in me, however I can make life better. A very wise man said one time, he was from the British Virgin Islands and had that, I'm horrible with accents, but he had that great accent, that, you know, British accent. And he said, do not go to your grave with one gift left inside of you. That rocked me. I was like, okay, I don't know if I have any gifts, but if I do, I'm going to get them out, because I don't want to go to my grave with one gift left inside of me. So I think philosophies like that can really help us, no matter what our ethnicity or age or gender or whatever. It doesn't matter. When we're giving on that level and stepping up to the plate on that level, life is going to be good. Not without heartache. We talked about that. Not without pain. But that's part of what joins us as human beings and as humankind, is suffering, is grief, is understanding that we all hurt the same way. So lots of good stuff. You're very, very wise to be so young.
Thank you. I think that just trying to do the economical analysis of how much we are living on the plate through not interacting as much as we could with the previous generations is shown in the mere fact that people, when they are in their peak capacity to add value to society, when they are about to retire, it's in the point in which they stop adding value to society in economical terms. Obviously, I enjoy the company of my grandparents. That's perfect. That's enjoyable. But it's not economical. It's love. That love and transactions are completely different things. And when we're trying to maximize economical value, and we see how people that are the most capable, who have the most experience, are just suddenly stopping to work.
Good point.
That's horrendous. That shouldn't be the case. And many of the public policies with public pension systems foment the incorrect acting from people. You are in the position in which you are the most capable you've ever been, and you suddenly stop.
Good. That's a good point.
But if you were the owner of your own net worth and you had invested it through ages by capitalizing some money that you've invested in the S&P 500, let's say, I'm not going to tell you where you have to invest, but just as a simple note there,
right?
You'll have been able to have a independence from the government that you don't have now. And the government says, you either work or you get the pension money that you're not going to get if you work. So you are forced to stop adding value to society.
Exactly. It's insane.
I think that value is basically books. That's what books are. Books are not written by stupid 15-year-old people. I'm not saying that every single 15-year-old is stupid, but there's a biological process there that allows people to have their brains developed and be more rational. Kids are naturally less capable of being rational than adults. So that capacity that adults have especially when they are in the late years, those are the most valuable because they have the most experience. Those are the people that are writing most of the books, not young people. And the fact of us now not wanting to read those, it's like the only thing that we have left from previous generations is what they took the effort to write and do the effort to put it there. And we're now saying, oh no, I'm not the kind of person who reads.
I know. I know. Yeah. So, yeah, there needs to be an awakening. There needs to be a turnaround here on some level. And, I do think that there's a part of us, of all of us, when we are in our young youth, that we kind of think we know it all. And we kind of think we know way more than everybody else. I know way more than those old people, I think that's a normal, natural part of growth. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, shoot, I could have saved myself a lot of trouble if I would have listened. I could have saved a lot of pain and heartache. It's, we can learn from experience, or we can learn from wisdom, which is learning from someone else's experience. It's way better to learn from someone else's, not everyone has to go down this rocky trail to figure it out. Like, learn from watching other people. So, yeah, I think it would be beautiful to encourage and to stir up this intergenerational connection, because I need what you have. You help keep me young. You help keep me on the edge. You help keep my brain stimulated and thinking in new ways and different ways. I'm challenged all the time just by the diversity that's in my family. My family is very diverse. And personally, I believe that we are put in families to help us love people who are different than we are, because we would never hang around them if they weren't family. I would never have the opportunity to hang around people who were different than me. We tend to gravitate toward, like things attract. So
how can that be the case?
I'm grateful for the diversity.
How can that be the case, that the fact that you are forced to interact with a certain amount of people that happen to be your family, because that's the nature of the family, that you have to interact with them no matter the genetic connections that you have to them, is not going to stop suddenly just because you don't like their ideology. So you're forced to interact with them. How is it that that's the main source of variety in terms of ideologies? The variety that we have in terms of ideologies in our family shouldn't be a big proportion of how much variety we get in our lifetime. Because
no, hopefully you get more. Hopefully you get way more than the family. But certainly families, they can be the genesis. They can be the beginning of going, oh, wait a minute, they're different than I am, and I can accept them and love them. Because in the US, at Thanksgiving with them, or Christmas or whatever it is. Yeah. So it just helps us see life through different eyes.
Let's say I develop the perfect pill that gives you the capacity to eliminate instantly any bad feeling that you have. Mm-hmm. How would that modify your nature?
Well, it's very interesting that you bring that up, because I actually have created an emotional release system. It's your internal GPS to keep you on track. And it is about choosing the next best emotion. It's a choice. It's using our power of choice to choose which our next emotion will be. And so if we totally eliminated any of the negativity, I think we would be absolutely in perfect alignment with who we were created to be in the first place.
But created in what terms? Are you talking about evolution or God?
Well, my own personal belief is God. I mean, we did evolve. I'm not denying evolution. But I believe that we're spiritual beings as well. Yes, we're physical and mental and all that, but there's a spiritual aspect. And when we get in alignment with that, it's good. Even though all this stuff is triggering around us, there is a way to walk in peace and walk in joy. And, everyone has different values. But for me, when my life is full of peace and full of joy, I'm good.
Have you heard Steven Kotler? He's got a few books relating to flow.
Yes.
I think that's exactly what you're referring to. That connection with your spiritual side is what is defined in the state of flow.
Yes, you're exactly correct. And so, we're talking about external things. We're talking about businesses. We're talking about making money. And it's all good. It's all important. But none of it matters if you're an unhappy person. If you're miserable, who cares? You're miserable, then people are miserable when they're around you. And I live a super happy life. And I have been through some stuff in my life. I did the podcast on grief, gratitude, and grace because, it's only been less than 3 years ago that I lost my husband. Suddenly it was like, what? He was diagnosed with cancer and 20 days later, he was gone. Boom.
Oh, wow.
And it was difficult. He was my best friend, my best bud. Like we did everything. We built business together. He had his own businesses too. And we were like bread and butter on a daily basis. And all of a sudden that's boom, out of your life. It sucked. It was hard. And so I'm not saying that things like that, obviously death or divorce or loss of a job or loss of a relationship, or there are just things in life, they're hard. They are difficult, but you can still have peace even through the difficult times. And if we allow ourselves, if we give ourselves permission, you can actually even have joy in the difficult times. We've all been to funerals where maybe you see people you haven't seen them in forever. And it's almost like you're almost scared to let yourself feel happy because it's a sad time. And they're both present. Joy and sorrow can both be present at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. So just learning to navigate those waters, finding tools, that's one of my zones of genius, is I'm good at finding real life tools, like practical tools. They have to work. It's not pie in the sky. It's not some ethereal concept of whatever. People come up with all kinds of stuff. And if it doesn't work, then it's no good. I don't care how good you think it is. I mean, very, very simple tools to go to your next best emotion. I call them 2-degree shifts, just a little shift. We try to go from 0 to 180 in business, in life, in relationships, with our money. And to me, if we break it down into what I call 2-degree shifts, little shift, it's those little shifts that change the course of your destination. So that's how I do life. That's how I look at life.
I see a lot of Stoic philosophy behind your thoughts. Do you consider yourself to be a Stoic in the sense of being capable of maintaining a calm mindset even when going through the harshest of the situations?
And I missed that word. Do I consider myself a what?
Stoic.
Stoic?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure what that means in this context.
Oh, it's a Greek ancient philosophy that basically says that you have to be able to maintain calm and that everything is in control of you, even if you only have control of your mind.
Oh.
Because your mind is everything.
I mean, that makes me think of like Viktor Frankl.
Yeah,
in the concentration camp, that kind of thing. We do have, I call it the power of choice. It's such a gift that we've been given, the power of choice. And no one can take that away. Nothing can take that away.
I have a quote saved. I think you will really like it. I'll read it to you now. It isn't what you have, or what you are, or where you are, or what you are doing that makes you happy or unhappy. It is what you think about.
Mm-hmm.
That's so deep.
And guess who has charge over your thoughts? You do. This is good news to people because they think, Well, my husband or my wife or my girlfriend or my boss or my parents, whoever, there's always that blame, right? It's like, oh, no, 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 no. We have absolute charge over our own mind.
Extreme ownership in the...
Yes, I like that. Extreme ownership. Yes.
Do you know Jocko Willink, the ex-Navy SEAL?
Oh, yes. That's powerful.
Yeah.
I've never been a Navy SEAL. Like, that's a whole nother level, right?
Yeah.
You talk about controlling your mind and taking it captive. Wow. You know, on a daily basis, I just do my best to go from when something negative hits to, you know, look at it, acknowledge it, and then make a choice about what I want to do about it. So I'm still in kindergarten on that. But that Navy SEAL stuff, oh my gosh, that's a whole other level of taking charge of mind.
Yeah. How would you say your philosophy relates to the fact that we tend to only value things when we lose them? How preoccupied are you on valuing the things that you have? You are conscious now, you are alive. Are you preoccupied on enjoying life now while things are going on in a way that could not go in the future? Instead of just repenting not having valued them when you had them, but you were oblivious to the value of the things that you were accompanied by?
I think the question is, you know, that is it the loss of something that makes you value it more? Like when we lose it, we value it more. I mean, I think there's definitely some truth to that, that you know, we say you don't realize what you had until it's gone. Just by nature, in my circle of influence, there has been a lot of discussion lately about coddling kids. Okay, there's been a lot of discussion about and how we coddle them. And of course, you want life better for your children or grandchildren or your loved ones than what you had it. And so we coddle and we try to keep them from ever experiencing loss. We try to keep them from that. And yet, when we put our heads together, we were talking about different family members and different people that we have come in contact with. And you know, the ones who do better, not the ones who are coddled, not the ones with the helicopter mom around them all the time. They don't do well in life. Some of them do. As a general rule, what my observation has been is that when even children have suffered like loss and had things happen, and how many divorced families there are and how many kids have been through that heartache of having a family ripped apart. And that does not mean they're not going to turn out okay. Many times that means they're building up some resilience and some things within themselves that actually help them make better decisions down the road.
So fragility.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole point is, do we appreciate things more after they're gone? Probably.
And why is that?
Well, it's impossible to recognize what you have if you're born into it and that's your only experience in life. You don't know anything different. It's difficult. Here's what can make a huge difference. Travel is the best education we can ever give ourselves or our loved ones. Because when you actually see with your own eyes, not just on TV, not just on screens, you can see what war looks like on a screen. But when you go there and you actually hug the people and feed the people and pick up little children and you experience that can show you a different way of life. But it takes the actual experience of it, maybe not yourself, but through someone else. So maybe it's not your own personal loss, but you can actually empathize and feel that loss for someone else. Yeah, I think it takes that kind of balance in life to really appreciate what we have.
I think I started to appreciate the fact that my country is not in a war when I noticed how drafts can make you go somewhere that you don't want to in a tangible way. It's not that I've experienced that, by no means, but just trying to reflect on the fact that you can be forced against your will to use your physical means to fight against some people that are in the exact same situation that you are, but due to political reasons, you are one shooting at each other.
Yes. So just keep this podcast, you keep these discussions going, because I think it helps us understand, to your point, and Dr. Caroline Leaf says this, that we are all 99.9% the same, regardless of gender, ethnicity. It doesn't matter. As human beings, we are 99.9% the same. The 1% is what makes us so beautiful, so delicious. It makes us all different. But we have way more in common than we are different.
I guess that differentiation in 0.1% what makes us different. She was referring to DNA. Yeah, we are super similar in terms of DNA. I think we had like 40% or 60% common DNA with trees. That's absurd. Doesn't make sense to me.
I know, right? I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Yeah. That's the way it was really designed to work, I believe, with all my heart. Like, we really were designed to come together, and, it really was designed to be beautiful, and, things get corrupted.
When you said, I love the comment that you made that coddling young people makes them not be able to affront future problems. Are you aware of the works of Nassim Taleb?
I don't know that. No.
Okay, he's a philosopher. He lives in the US, but he was from the Middle East, and he's a brilliant person. I would really recommend you reading Anti-Fragile by him. The basic idea is that when you expose yourself to some level of chaos, the nature of the human body makes you be capable of overgrowing the deterioration that you had. Let's say you go to the gym, you deteriorate your muscles in a way to make them even bigger or stronger than they used to be previous to the stimulus or to the interacting in a way that damages the thing. So by never allowing those kids to be damaged in a small way, when they face a situation in which they are going to be damaged in a big way, they have nothing to defend with.
Yeah, that's what coddling does. I have a series coming up called the Confidence Challenge that's coming up in September. And that's what that discussion was centered around, was what actually builds confidence in children. It's not coddling. Coddling does not build confidence. Rah, rah, you're so great. You can do it. Like, that's encouragement, but it does not build confidence. What builds confidence is when you think something is impossible and you do it. When you're a little kid, you think making a bed is like impossible. I can't. But then you do it and you feel so confident because I did the impossible. That doesn't change in life. It's doing the impossible is what makes us feel confident. Yeah.
Impossible in terms of defining it as a thing that you consider to be impossible to be done, not impossible in physical terms.
Obviously, exactly.
Many people have been able to do it.
It's your mindset, that's why I encourage people to live in possibility. Ask this question, is it possible? It's like, well, I can't. Well, just ask this one question. Is it possible? And if we can stay in that state of mind, that frame of mind, that's what moves us forward. Living in possibility. It's possible.
I did an episode recently about the imposter syndrome. It's basically... Oh, so you already know it. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Perfect.
I deal with it. I work with high-level executives. So I deal with the imposter syndrome all the time. I've talked to many executives off of the ledge about the imposter syndrome.
And one of the conclusions that we got to in the episode is that in order to eliminate it, you have to go through the grind of showing yourself that you are capable of doing or performing in a way that you were expecting yourself to not be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, look at your track record. Look at what you actually have done. You actually have done this, even though you may not feel quite worthy of it. Or it's interesting because from the outside, we look at successful people and we honestly believe that they have it all together. And I work with them And no, they don't. And neither do I. And neither do you. Like none of us has it all together. That's just, it's a misnomer. It's not truth.
Yeah, it's not proportional how much you earn to how well your mental state is.
No. You're so wise to be so young. You're right. You're exactly right. Yeah.
You were working in a book, weren't you?
Well, I've written a few books.
Bedroom etiquette, how to show up.
Bedroom etiquette, how to show up well behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Yes. That was pretty juicy one. That went to #1 overnight. It's like, I think it's just the subject, it's like sex sells. It's that thing. And where, it's interesting because that book was birthed out of, honestly, my corporate work that I do in terms of my brand is show up well. Don't just show up in life. Like if you're going to show up well. And so we do a lot of first impression management and, working with executives and how you show up in life and that kind of thing. So what I realized is so many, amazing leaders in business were great at running their companies, but their home life was falling apart. So they were applying the principles like, how would you treat your best client? What would you do to keep your best client? And we took those principles and turned them toward our home life. I've experienced divorce and it's painful. And I thought, if I can help save one family, one life, if I can help people think in a different way toward their spouses, their significant others, their partners in life, if I can help them shift those same beautiful skills, take that skill set and shift it to behind closed doors, show up well in your home. How would you woo your spouse if they were your most important client? How would you treat them? How would you market yourself to them? When they walked in the door, how would you present yourself to them? These are simple business principles, first impression management. And so that's how that book was birthed. And it was so much fun. It was a lot of fun to write and has literally helped people all over the world. So that's a fun one. Actually, there's a free download of that at bedroometiquette.com.
Okay, I will leave a link to that in the show notes.
There you go.
One last question relating to when you were writing this book, you were thinking of helping people out by the fact that you wanted to help people in a tangible way so you could feel the improvement of their lives. But how do you deal with the fact that we're not equipped to, in a calibrated way, judge or feel the betterment or the perishment of people at scale? You will not feel 100 times worse by killing 100 people than you would if you killed one. What would you attribute to that incapacity or that miscalibration?
Well, I've never really thought about it. So I think I would have to think about it. I've never really considered that miscalibration. I'm a simple person. It's like, I just believe that, on a daily basis, you get up, you do your very best, you show up well. Don't just halfway show up in life. Like show up, if you're going to show up well. And, that's a definition in itself. I get that. But if I live my life that way, where I show up well on a daily basis, then you get to the end of your life and you look back and you say, well done. I did the best I could. It's kind of the 4 agreements, the book, The 4 Agreements, one of the agreements is always do your best. Because if I do my best on a daily basis, then guilt has no place because I did my best. Now, if I don't do my best and I do a hazard job on something, well, then I might feel bad.
I think that cannot be the case. I did an episode with my friend, Dr. Brad Seaman, about the fact that repentance is not rational. He's a Christian. He believes in repentance as a mechanism of clearing our sins. But I really think that in the ranking of things that you subconsciously or consciously consider to be the most worthy of being done next, you're only choosing the top one. So if you are constantly choosing the top one, and if you had the exact same information that you had previously in a situation in which you chose to do the thing that has been shown with time that wasn't the correct decision, it's normal that you, with new information, think otherwise.
Sure. And I happen to believe in repentance as well. You can get a second chance to your second chance to your second chance to your second chance. Yes, I believe in that. And you hit reset. It's an automatic reset. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Very powerful concept.
Love it, Jan. Where can people find more about you?
I can always be found at jan@civilityconsulting.com. Always. You can always find me there. And actually, there's jan@showupwell.com works as well. They all go to the same place. You will find me there. You can connect with me there. I always have something going on.
Cool. It's been lovely.
Yeah. Well, it was such a pleasure. You're such a bright light in this world.
I appreciate it. Really do. Thank you very much.
All right. My pleasure.